No, if you ask about Tamil cinema, it's going through a problem, I would say.
I am very insecure as a filmmaker right now because I am like, what is it that the people are coming to the theaters for? Right? How do I make it worth their time, but at the same time, not make a film that even I can't identify with?
Don't go big for sake of going big. So, see, the problem is, if your script doesn't allow to go big, if you go big, just to prove that you are a director who can make a bigger film. If you do like that, it's waste of energy, waste of time, waste of everything actually. It doesn't make any sense. See, the thing is, there are a lot of writers who have turned into director because they didn't get their credit.
The ability to pivot and make big decisions is drastically easier down south.
Because you have to convince one person.
You just have to convince one person. I go into a room, talk to an actor or a producer and pitch the idea. He sees some spark, film is on.
A few years back, major platforms were doing, Netflix and Amazon were, I think if I'm not wrong, developing a few shows in Malayalam. But after a point, I think they realized the viewership is less. When you're making a show in Malayalam, it gets restricted.
Firstly, thank you all for being here. Like I said, it really is such a wonderful opportunity to talk to the four of you about four very vibrant, distinctive film industries. I really wanted to use this sort of conversation to talk about a lot of things, big and small, about the state of the film industry, of everything Hindi cinema could stand to learn from the industries in the South, which I think is a lot, as well as just where we are overall as an industry. I want to start with a box office question. You know, there's this myth that goes around that, you know, it's a fact that mainstream cinema in all four industries is a lot more rooted. I think Hindi cinema is definitely going through something of a crisis right now, creatively, commercially as well. People don't know what theatrical means, what is a theatrical film, what should it be. But there's also this myth that the four industries in the South have all figured it out. You know, commercially, everything is great, everything is wonderful and happy there, and we're the only ones struggling. Is that true, or are we only seeing the successes? Vivek, you are the blockbuster man.
See, the thing is both ways actually. See, in every industry, out of some 10 films, you get to see some 2 to 3 successful films. And the amount of success in those films which is making that sound is very huge as far as South films is concerned. And see, the thing is, we can't measure everything, how good a cinema is by the box office success. For example, if I have to say, there is a film called Balagam in Telugu, which is one of the best films that has come out in the recent times. But I think it doesn't have made sound or made that much of noise to Hindi cinema, that kind of a film has never existed. See, the thing is, when it comes to cinema or any art form, there is no language barrier like there is Hindi cinema, that Hindi cinema has to learn from Telugu cinema or Kannada cinema or South cinema. But see, art form doesn't have any language. There is a lean time in every industry. As far as South film is concerned, the films are very rooted. The ideas are very rooted. For example, KGF worked big time and Pushpa worked big time, not just because of the scale of the film, but the rootedness of the characters or the rootedness of the emotions that they have put in. So I just believe in that. That's it. Yeah.
I think what Hindi cinema, I don't think Hindi cinema is depreciated, or I don't buy that narrative. For me, what has happened is that if with Bahubali and KGF and the likes, which films that broke out from a regional space, it sort of opened up doors that they are not contained to a particular region. South cinemas before this happened were contained to a specific boundary, saying Tamil film will do well mostly in Tamil Nadu, Telugu films will do mostly well in Andhra Pradesh, and Kannada and Malayalam. What happened with Bahubali is that border sort of got dissolved when they showed numbers in other places. In Hindi heartland, when these films started doing well, it's basically encroaching on territory. I mean, not in the sense of an aggressive way, but it's how it should be. Stories shouldn't have boundaries, and films shouldn't have boundaries. So all along, what was happening prior to this was that Hindi cinema was quite a big market in South. They used to release big. It's only flipped now because people there is a certain, because of the world closing in, there's a certain identity about where you come from that take precedence from the audience. So that is why I think regional cinema has sort of opened that invisible door, and they're able to see bigger possibilities. So that is a huge paradigm shift for Hindi cinema. And I think it is cyclical in nature. It's only a matter of time before we are already seeing proof of concept, in the sense of there are actors from Bollywood who are working in Telugu films and actors from Telugu from acting in. So I think we are going through a very interesting metamorphosis of sorts, which will see us become Indian cinema. And I hope that happens.
That's a very hopeful perspective. Prem, what about you? You made one of the most beloved films of last year with Meiyazhagan, but it didn't make the biggest splash at the box office. Where is Tamil cinema today in terms of just the health of the industry?
Health of the
industry, yeah.
If you ask about Tamil cinema, it's going through a problem, I would say, because we do get good movies. And to add the previous question, I wouldn't agree with that. That Hindi cinema is depreciating, because recently I watched Amar Singh Chamkila, one of the best movies I've seen. And Dangal, for me, always has been a big inspiration. Whenever I'm going to make a movie, I watch that movie. And what is lacking is we don't get much of rooted cinema from Hindi, which we want to see in future. That will be great. Something that we constantly used to get during the 90s and till early 2000, I think we used to get a constant supply. But now we don't see that. That is one thing. And Tamil cinema, what it's facing is the negative reviews has become a big problem over there. It's a huge problem. It is getting worse day by day, week after week.
What do you mean by that? Like negative word of mouth, or what does that mean?
Because we used to have reviewers who are we can call them reviewers. The breed what we have now, they are not reviewers. It's a different breed altogether, and their target is different.
That makes me feel great. Okay.
Yeah. Not everyone.
But I agree with you, yeah.
Yeah, and I know. I guess you understand. So
are you saying just people who try to just sort of talk big and just sort of pull a movie down for the sake of it?
Because it's very uncivilized, I would say. The language, what they use, the way they talk, and what they target, it is very, very negative, and they are targeting the first week.
They have an agenda.
And they have an agenda. So once when you target the first week revenue, naturally the producers will come to you for their next movie. And the number of paid reviewers, it's more than 90% now. And the genuine reviewers are in fractions, I would say. And even the honest reviewers, I would say, they don't have the talent or the capacity to properly review a film. It's hardly one or two they are able to give a good review. And they have a very niche audience who listen to them. The rest all, they go by the negative reviewers.
And you think that can have a really big impact for the box office?
It is having, because they decide whether to go to the movie or not, to the cinema halls, based on these reviews. So that's a huge problem we are facing in Tamil Nadu. I don't know about the other states. It is getting very, very worse, and it has to be addressed. I hope the producers, either from within the state or from all the states, they come together, get some regulation on this.
And Christo, we were talking earlier about Malayalam cinema, and there was this article that came out recently, which I thought was a very interesting look at where Indian cinema is overall right now, where Malayalam cinema last year had this insane year box office, where these excellent stories doing so well, Avesham, Manyamal Boys. But then there was also a lot of talk of how there was record losses, and the industry overall is struggling. So, and I feel like that's true everywhere. The biggest films are getting bigger than ever, and everything else is struggling. So what happens to a film like Ullozhukku or Meiyazhagan, these wonderful human dramas, which is not about spectacle and mass. As an audience, we love those films. So is that film under threat now, do you feel?
Not really, I think, because if you look at Kerala, last year is one of the best years we had. And not just films that are commercial, if you can use that word, not just that kind of film found success, but there are a lot of films like that hard found success. And my producers who are from Hindi, actually, Roni and Abhishek and Honey, I mean, their team keeps telling me that a film like Ullozhukku, because it's made in Malayalam, because it's released in Malayalam, we had such a big opening, which might not be possible in other states. So I'm blessed that I'm actually from there and I got to make a film there and get it released there. Last year was a special year, I think, for Malayalam cinema, where a lot of films, whichever genre they are, whichever style, or films even without big stars found success. Like Manjumayil didn't have a big star, Prem Kumar didn't have a big star. So a lot of films found success. A black and white film, a big star, like Mammootty did a black and white film, and which became a big success. So I think, but prior to last year, I think like with every other industry, prior to last year, we are not having such a good time. But last year, especially, people started coming back to the theaters and started watching films in theaters, which I think is a very healthy sign. At the same time, what's really special is that different kind of film found success. Films across genres found success, which is again a great thing. Also, I feel like people, every Saturday, every Friday, every Sunday, people want to come to the theaters as a family and celebrate it. That has become one of the main things to do for a family over the weekends. And when a film releases, there is a lot of conversation around a film. Like for example, when my film released, even though it does not have a male star, it was a female-led cast. There was a lot of conversation happening about the film, and that got the people into the theaters. And also, people not just in cities, people in towns and villages are willing to come to the theaters and have these kind of experiences, which are not typically commercial cinema. So that I would say is a good thing. And also with Malayalam cinema, what I feel is that, like everyone is saying, it's a lot more rooted. It's a little bit creator-centric industry, where the director or the writer has a lot of freedom in the world they want to create and the stories that they want to tell. That finally shows when the film gets released. And people are also willing to take risk, maybe because the budgets are not so high. People are willing to take in terms of the style of the storytelling, in terms of the content they want to say, and even stars, like Mammootty did a Kadal, Mammootty did a Meiyazhagan. So even stars are willing to experiment, and those films kind of having success at the box office. I think now more and more producers are willing to come forward and back those films, which I think is great.
But I do think Malayalam cinema is this wonderful exception that so many of us cling on to on every level. But one thing I want to ask all of you, which is I think something that a lot of filmmakers and screenwriters are facing in every industry. This idea of if you're making a theatrical film, go big or go home, So, Hemanth, you've said that your film this year is going to be one of the biggest Indian films of the year. Prem, you've said that after, your next film, you might be making an adventure survival drama. Vivek, you said on a roundtable that you get a lot of calls from producers saying, go big, So is that the state of things? You're all successful, celebrated filmmakers. Are you getting calls and, being told, give me a cinematic universe, pan-India, Pushpa, just go big? Is that the pressure right now?
I hope it becomes the biggest film of the year. But with regard to, it is a bit of a conundrum for me as a writer now, because see, the problem I see is that everybody is going for one particular ceiling, which is that 2,000 crores or 1,500 crores. Now every film can't make 1,500 crores. I am trying to see how I can get an actor to look at 400 crores and it's still money, no? It's not 400 crores.
400 crores is a small film now?
No,
making a small indie film, 400 crores.
I'm just throwing numbers, but what I'm saying is, see, you have to look at cost of investment in ratio from a business perspective. You're putting in 2 rupees and you're making 2.1. It's not really good money. You will get exposure, all that. There are other, sort of not measurable through money sort of a metric. But you can also make a film that is 20 crores, 30 crores, but if you can make 60, 70 crores, that is still very good money, right? I think that needs to change, and I am hoping to sort of have that, regain that conviction. I always keep saying I make my film like it's my first film and it's like it's my last film, because I have to give everything to it, right? So I am trying to make sure that it's a very difficult thing to ignore when everybody, the entire ecosystem is very harping on the same thing about it has to be big, it has to be big. I am very insecure as a filmmaker right now because I'm like, what is it that the people are coming to the theaters for? Right? How do I make it worth their time, but at the same time, not make a film that even I can't identify with? So figuring that out is a problem that is increasingly becoming bigger and bigger. But I'm trying to figure it out, and it is exciting. So, because there's nothing like, I was just discussing with the guys backstage about whatever you do, the ultimate high of having your film release on a Friday, nothing can come close to it. So I want the theatrical experience, but I also, it's like the playing field should never be left, without a fight. So when there's somebody who's always trying to make a big film, films like Meiyazhagan, when I saw it in the theater in a packed audience, I was like, somebody's fighting that fight. So, we'll continue fighting that fight. Let's see where it goes.
But Prem, how difficult is it to fight that fight? Because, you're making these films that go straight to our heart. You feel every moment of it. But is it getting increasingly tough to mount those films in the current theatrical space?
It is getting tough. No denying that. It is getting tough because, as you rightly said, few people were interested in making the scripts that has a bigger budget, because till the release of the movie, all people or the media, what they talk about is the scale of the movie. Only after the release, the quality of the movie or what the movie is talking about, the emotion of the movie, only it comes much later. Like probably, after the trailer is released or after the release of the movie, it slowly picks up. And there are several examples in the recent years. So that is a problem. But once when it comes to the OTT, that's when the actual feedback of the movie comes, which happened to Meiyazhagan. So that's when they talk about the actual movie.
It's like a second release.
And not the numbers. Yeah, it's like a second release. So that is a problem. So if we can, somehow strike a balance, it will be great. But since I have a mixture of, budget movies and big budget movies, and I can see, even after Meiyazhagan, after the response it got from, from the OTT release, I can see a lot of big producers coming and asking for big movies. They are not asking for movies like Meiyazhagan. They are actually asking for big movies. That's there.
Vivek, what about you? You already make these wonderfully playful, inventive blockbusters, so even you are being put pressure on to go bigger than that as well?
So that is there always, because we are surrounded by the people, because someone as your colleague or fellow filmmaker was able to achieve it. Everyone tells that, why don't you do that? But the thing is, if the content allows you to do that, do that. Don't go big for sake of going big. So the problem is, if your script doesn't allow to go big, if you go big, just to prove that you are a director who can make a bigger film. If you do like that, it's waste of energy, waste of time, waste of everything actually. It doesn't make any sense.
And audience can see through that, big for the sake of big.
True, actually. And
the audience actually doesn't care about scale. It's like, if you look at the number of films that have done well, it's not because the film is mounted at a certain scale and there are like 50,000 people who are being shot. 5 people being shot also creates the same impact if the story has enough.
It's what we call the Saho problem.
No, it's all India problem.
See, nowadays having a virginal script is gold. It's much bigger than anything actually. So the thing is, when after watching Meiyazhagan, one of my friends told me one interesting comment about the film, that the aftertaste of this movie is so good that I don't want to watch any other film for at least 2 to 3 months. So that's a big statement actually.
And it's accurate, yeah.
See, the thing is, having a smile is much bigger than, more than the adrenaline rush, I feel. Adrenaline rush probably, or whatever the high you get, may get diluted in an hour or so, but having that smile is very more important. And doing a film like Meiyazhagan and doing a film like Sapta and Ullozhukku is a far more difficult thing nowadays actually. So
and they stay with you much longer.
Sorry?
The films stay with you a lot longer than the average commercial success.
Yeah, very true, very true. See, the thing, when it comes to Meiyazhagan, a lot of people, few of my friends they told me that it's an OTT film. Okay, but when I watched it in theater with a full crowd, it's altogether a different experience, which I didn't get it while watching it in OTT. So after COVID, probably people are tagging the films with this is a OTT film because it doesn't have the theatrical experience. See, sharing an emotion with thousands of people is a different experience altogether. And it's high time we as a people, as a filmmakers, as an audience, we shouldn't discuss about box office number. Rather, we should discuss about how much you like the film. Yeah, so I think it's very much needed nowadays because good cinema will live for a longer time that way. Yeah.
I do want to ask all of you about screenwriters and the lives and screenwriting, but first I just had one more question on a larger industry perspective. I want to ask all of you what your perspective is on working in Hindi cinema. Because, over the last few years, we've seen so many filmmakers, whether it's Atlee, Pushkar Gayatri, recently there was Roshan Andrews, sort of often remaking their films in Hindi cinema, and it's almost positioned as this big, exciting step in their careers, which is odd because as an audience, it feels like today the finest, most exciting mainstream cinema is being made in the 4 industries in the South. So is working in Hindi cinema, is that something that excites you? Is working with Shahid Kapoor goals at this point? Like, what is that an appeal for people?
It's a very subjective thing, actually. Yeah, see, the thing is, working with Shah Rukh sir or Hrithik sir, definitely, it's a great thing. But when I have to talk for myself, I'm not comfortable with the language. I don't know Hindi much, actually. So when I write my own script, I have to think in Telugu to cater it to my audience. If I'm not able to do so, though even if I have a writer, there will be some sort of translation loss, which is not good for the process. So that's my thing. Yeah, so that's it.
It's kind of the same. For me, it is about where I come from. Like, I need to be comfortable with the language. I can speak a little bit of Hindi. But my thing is, my desire to work in Hindi cinema would be driven more by the art collaborators that I can get to work with, because these are people who have grown up watching, to be in the same room as somebody like Mr. Bachchan and to say action and cut or to have a scene would be any director's dream come true. So that is something that is it's not the allure of the size and all that, because I think that a film can break out. That is, multiple evidences has been presented in the last few years that if a film is good and if it has that, it has the ability to travel, right? So I don't need to come to Hindi cinema to sort of get that scale. But some projects I might need the budget which Kannada might not offer, which is why I would probably look at Hindi from a canvas perspective. But it is still inorganic for me. Like, I have to wrestle with myself to get to a point where I'm like, okay, you're making the film for the right reasons, right? I have to ask myself that. So,
not scale for the sake of scale.
Like, for me, it's, now I can dare say that 96 was actually returned for Hindi. It was, I wanted to pitch it to Mr. Abhishek Bachchan.
Okay.
That was the plan. But I didn't have the contacts, or I didn't know the means to reach her.
Now they all want to reach you, I'll tell you that.
Hopefully, yes. And but then, of course, it happened in Tamil in a good way, and of course I had my friend Vijay Sethupathi to support the film. So it happened. And I have a personal reason also. Of course, I know Hindi very well. I can speak, I can't read and write. And my father, he grew up in North India, though he's a Tamilian, he grew up here. So he speaks good Hindi. And I was constantly exposed to Hindi cinema. At that age, till probably I joined the film institute, whoever asked me, who's your favorite actor? I used to say Nasruddin Shah. That's how it was. I used to watch a lot of Hindi movies. Now it's all mixed up. And the thing is, I have written a script for Hindi now. And I'm going to pitch it here. I have started the process. And the main reason is the diversity of the Hindi audience. It's not, if you say Tamil industry, it is Tamil Nadu. If it is Kannada, it is just Karnataka. In Hindi, if you say it involves a lot of states, and the diversity is huge, and you can position your script in various states, and the color will change extremely. So that's a good thing about Hindi cinema.
So if you get a call from a Bollywood producer, which is a very Bollywood producer type thing to do, and say remake 96 in Hindi, would you consider it?
I desperately wanted to do it. And I even tried for probably a year and a half.
But if you get that call today saying we'd love for you to remake it, would you do it?
I will. In fact, I wanted to remake 96 and Meiyazhagan, both. I'm still trying.
We can all cast that in our heads right now. Like,
Of course, I mean, I really wanted to do it. I was desperate, in fact. But then, since I was writing my next Tamil scripts, I couldn't concentrate on this. If they are ready, I will be more than happy.
Christo, you're making a show for Netflix in Hindi. What is that process like? And was that a strategic move? Is that something did you always want to do that?
I'm not making a show for Netflix. It's for another OTT platform. I can't.
Oh, okay, I put my foot in my mouth. I'll take that again.
Yeah, I can't reveal the name now because
Amazon. There's like one more, so like.
Sorry, I can say it now because of the contractual.
Hotstar. No, it'll be Amazon. We can take bets. Definitely Amazon. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so I studied filmmaking at SRFTA Kolkata. I studied for 6 years there, and after passing out, I only wanted to do Malayalam films because that is what I grew up on. I didn't really relate to any other place or language at that time. I badly wanted to go back, make Malayalam films. And a lot of my friends at that time came to Bombay and was working as ADs here. I went back, and then from then, it was an 8-year struggle to kind of make my first film because of various reasons, female-led cast, the kind of subject that is dealing with. Meanwhile, I made Korean Signet as well. But then I felt that because I did not kind of, and for the 8 years of that time, I was literally sitting in a room and writing the script, and my film is finally produced by producers from here, Roni and Abhishek and Honey. And my Netflix docu is also produced from the producer from here. So I always felt like an outsider in Malayalam industry, if I can put it that way. I still feel that way. So right now, for me, it is what the story demands. When I get excited by a story, I think about organically where it should be placed. And if Hindi or North India is the answer, then I go with it. And when an opportunity came for me to do a show, I was very much excited because I wanted to do something in Hindi for the longest time. And for me, it's about industries are totally different. The freedom that you get in Kerala, you wouldn't get it here. How people function is completely different. Contracts and everything, people back in Kerala might feel offended by, like when you ask somebody to sign contracts, a lot of people are offended by it. Or if you ask somebody to give invoices, people are offended by that. But then the industry basically works on relationships. So that is how the industry has been functioning, and it has been functioning in a good way. So I can't say either of it is bad or good. Both has its own pros and cons. But I, as a filmmaker, want to be flexible to do films anywhere and across genres. So there are a couple of features that are in conversation, that is set here in Bombay. So let's see what happens.
Fingers crossed for sure. And I want to ask all of you what the life of a screenwriter is like in the 4 industries in the South. The sense I get is, and I could be wrong, but something that a lot of screenwriters do is they become directors because they don't have a choice. How else will I get the respect or money or importance I deserve? And I feel like while it happens a lot in Hindi, I feel like it happens more in the South, where you have writers who pivot and try to become directors as well, because that's the only way. So would you say that's the case, and how difficult is it for a true blue screenwriter in terms of money, in terms of significance, importance, credit, all of those things? Is it the same everywhere?
I hope someday writer will get their due credit and money. Yeah, I think that day will be very soon. But till now, the thing is, there are a lot of writers who have turned into director because they didn't get their proper credit. So that's the problem actually. We respect the director so much, and we don't give credit for the writer. That's not right actually. That's not right on many parts actually. But that do happens. That's how it functions. Yeah. So that's why a lot of writers who really wanted to stick their profession to writing, they are turning into the directors, though they are not so much of interest in the direction. They are getting into the direction just because they don't get paid properly and they don't get their credit properly. So that's the thing. Someday or the other, probably this might change. I genuinely feel jealous about Malayalam film industry because there are a lot of good writers, and I've seen, for almost a lot of films. Recently I watched Kishkinda Kandam, and there is a different writer and different director. I want, because there was a lot of shortage of writers in Telugu film industry. I want to collaborate and I want to bounce my ideas with a lot of people, and that rarely happens. So yeah.
So you're looking for writers? Because I can point you to a few.
Yes,
Okay.
I do.
We'll give you Vivek's number
I'm
after
looking
this.
for writers actually. Yeah. So because that's very rare to find writers. Yeah.
It's a huge problem in Karnataka, in Kannada film industry, that writers are not valued for what they bring to the table. It's an afterthought. Many times the producer will come and say, what if we do this film, change this. So the writer has, is a tool, and he or she is not really valued.
That example, the producer is a tool, but yeah, I take your point.
Yeah. No, but that is one thing that I would really like to borrow from, like, best practices perspective. The way writers are treated in Bombay, I've interacted with a few writer friends of mine here, and it's very nice. Like, case in point, I worked only on the first half of Andhadhun, but Sriram Raghavan was so gracious enough.
You're credited, yeah.
That I'm still credited. I won a national award for it, and I was like, really, do I deserve it? So that speaks volumes about the ethics, about the value of what a writer brings to the table, and the best practices that exist here. I think the South is trying to catch up to. I think Malayalam, there are good writers where they're valued. I think I would be the wrong person to talk about it, but in Kannada it's really bad. We don't have a place to register our scripts. All of us have to come to SWA, and which is a great platform, but we don't have anything internally to have and speak for writers' rights. So
Or the SWA should become pan-India.
Yeah, I mean, it is. For us, it is like, since there is no other sort of a body, we end up, like, I tell a lot of my writer friends and young writers who reach out to me that make sure that your material is registered and you become a SWA member, and follow best practices. Don't give out your story without the right practices. So that, I feel, requires a massive overhaul in the way we look at cinema, because cinema is constructed from the foundation of a good script, from foundation of a good story. You can build a long, tall, beautiful building, but if the foundation is not strong, it is going to collapse. And that is just, it's like, it is the most obvious thing. There is nothing to refute that. And I hope that changes.
I mean, they would all know better than me, but I will say even in Bombay, it is still not always the best picture. I mean, there was a recent film called Mrs., which is a great Indian kitchen remake, and in a spectacularly insecure move, the producers didn't even credit the writers in the trailer end slate, which is by basic. So that stuff is still far too common here. But Prem, if I'm coming to you and I'm a screenwriter and I'm saying, give me life advice, I want to make a living, I want to write good. Is your advice just become a writer-director? Is that just the most sensible thing to do? Is that my only choice?
No. I feel this getting independent writers, it is a must for our Indian film industry. It will change the course, because what happens now is the directors who used to write, I mean, like, even I came in as a writer, I wanted to become a writer, I was forced to become a director, and direction was not my choice. I was forced to. And even now I can write probably like 5 scripts from my life, my experience. Then I'll be kind of out of ideas. It might take some time. So already I have started, I have employed a writer and I'm taking scripts from writers. I've already started it. So that is one good thing to do, because you'll have a different dimension and stuff. And the problem what we are facing in Tamil, I don't know about the other states, this remake rights, it comes to play. Because as a director, when the movie is being remade, you get a percentage. So for that, what they do is they do a lot of, undesirable things. They take the script from someone, they take an NOC from them saying, like, now it's not theirs. They can't claim anything from the director. It becomes the director's script. They will put like written by XYZ. And a lot of problems are coming from, that kind of issues. Because the writer, like, he'll be in the assumption that he will get his name and he will get a break from that. But nothing will come out of that. So because of that, they take portions from this writer, portions from some other writer, and you know how it will turn out. Those are very inferior creations. But in Malayalam, during the black and white era of Tamil, we had some really strong writers. When they come, people used to stand up. That level of writers we had. When M.T. Vasudevan Nair, when he passed, it was almost a state level mourning. We need writers like that. Because even in Tamil, some movies were remade that were written by writers from Malayalam. So that's how it should be. We need writers, and the writers have to be strong. They have to look out for each other. And they have to be, if they are weak and if they are just giving away their scripts like that, then nothing is going to change.
Christo, what is it like in Kerala right now? And because from the outside, as we're all saying, it does seem like writers are given due respect there, but even monetarily and things like that, is it a better place to be as a true blue screenwriter who's not a director?
I can't really answer that, but happy to hear from you guys that you're all looking up to Malayalam cinema and the writers. But I think where that is coming from is also that in Kerala, literature was a big thing. When I was in college, everybody used to read, and it's not just somebody who wanted to make films or who wanted to write. Everybody would know about an O.V. Vijayan or M.T. Vasudevan Nair. So people, this was part of their daily life. And even if you go to Kerala now, there are a lot of small festivals happening in different corners, like in towns and villages. And there are a lot of public participation, and not just the youth that is coming there, but a lot of families come for these festivals and watch international cinema. So I don't know if that is happening in other states and other part of the country. So I think that is the reason why there is a good foundation as far as writing is concerned in Kerala. But regarding the pay and regarding the rights, I think I can't really say that we are in a good place. I think writers are hugely underpaid because if you do not have a good script, there is no good film. So that the money that I put into writing is still very minuscule. That has to really change. And once that changes, I think the quality of films will even get better. And but one thing that is good about Malayalam cinema is that I have not got it, but I have heard this, that you get a share of IP.
Which is rare.
Yeah, which is rare. So the IP, so IP is shared between the writer, director, and the producer, equally shared. And if you are the writer, director, and then there is a producer, it's 50-50. Otherwise, it's 33 something. So that is a good thing. But payment-wise, it's still very low. But Malayalam industry is also very, like I told earlier, it's very creator-driven. So a writer and director would have a lot of say in the script and how they want to tell the story. The producers, I don't think will get involved that much or will dictate and say that, we want something like this or that. Of course, if something has a budgetary constraint, they would say that. Even the stars, I think they are open to new ideas and new experiments and things like that. So that is good. But I think the writer's rights have to be secured more, and the pay has to, come up, no doubt.
But that IP thing is very heartening for sure. Because in Bombay, the average writer definitely has to be writing 3-4 projects at a time to make an acceptable living because the payment structures are so wonky. The other thing that I find very interesting about a lot of the films made in the South is, correct me if I'm wrong, if I have a script and I feel like this is a great film, I want to pitch it, you're often pitching to individual producers, whereas here there is that corporate entity, there are sort of corporate producers, there are platforms. So I'm curious to get all of your perspective. What are the pros and cons of that? Would you rather be working with an individual producer who has a power, or is there an advantage to the entire sort of larger structure?
It allows, it's a huge disparity between the two industries, and South and Bollywood basically. The ability to pivot and make big decisions is drastically easier down South.
Because you have to convince one person.
You just have to convince one person. I go into a room, talk to an actor or a producer and pitch the idea. He sees some spark, film is on. Like we are already discussing release dates. It doesn't happen like that here. The script goes into
storytelling by committee.
So that a lot of people are writing material that they are not, that they themselves don't have conviction in. That happens a lot in Bollywood, in my limited knowledge and what I have been exposed to. But in down south, at least in my personal case, I'm getting to make the films that I want to make. Right? I write a story. This is the story that I want to write. I take it to a producer, and it gets done. So there are pros and cons. That is a big pro. The con is that the oversight, especially when the project becomes bigger and larger, the control in terms of the creative, financial is resting on just two people, right? And it is a lot is at stake. So then if the actor comes in and he brings that sort of, he or she brings that, no, I want it this way, then it immediately shifts gear and becomes something else. So that is a disadvantage. But at the same time, you know, you are also getting to make the film like how you envisioned it. And it's a lot more rooted. It gets, you don't have that marketing meeting at a pitch, right, where you are trying to figure out what your target audience is. It is immediate. That is a huge advantage. There are a lot of disadvantages. Because I've reaped only the advantages, I might have a bias towards the disadvantages.
Prem, what about you? Would you prefer to work with an individual producer?
Individual?
Producer versus like a big sort of corporate entity?
I mean, individual producer is always easy. Because, as he said, I tried with the corporate producer earlier. It took 6 months to get an answer. So I wouldn't appreciate that.
It's the sound of people relating to you.
Yeah. And by the time I wrote 2 scripts and I was ready for the shoot. And I didn't know what they were doing with those. I mean,
feedback takes a year apparently.
And after 6 months, someone else came with the feedback. Not the same person who was dealing with me. And it was so funny. And I don't know. And he spoke like the other person. Like where he left, you know. He started from there. And I had to ask like, who are you? It was so funny. And it's individual producers, the advantage is they connect your script in an emotional platform. Here it is like, they ask such fancy questions for which you hate to answer. And so that's, and even for screenwriters, I would say it's better to go to either a director or an individual producer if you are starting. If you are established, then it is different. You will have a name and you can even take to those people, the corporate team. Of course, they will have a panel to do all autopsy and then it will come back in a different way. But yeah, that's what it is. But they have their pros also. They are very, you know, it is very systematic. You get your payment on time. It happens on time as promised. Everything is on paper. Nobody can cheat you. Whereas here, that possibility is there. If you're taking it to an individual producer, make sure you register it. And, you know, you keep a note of who's reading it and who they are and what's happening to your script. You can't be just like rest assured like they will act in an ethical fashion. No.
They're still 20-30 years behind in the way they function. Contracts and all, like he said, right? If you mention
emotions and exposure.
If you mention contract, they're offended. They're like, how dare you trust my integrity? But you know, that is a massive disadvantage because you're like, boss, I'm working for 1 year. You know, I need to get paid this much. What's the guarantee? It doesn't work that way. So with corporates, that is a lot more structured. There are pros and cons for either side.
Vivek, what about you?
Yeah, I think individual producer. First of all, as I told earlier, having the script in your hand is the biggest thing. So, if there is a delay in that to materialize and to get it onto the sets, I think the interest is lost. So, we need to have that conviction. Once the script is ready, we need to go and jump into the shoot with that excitement. If that excitement is lost in the initial stages itself, I think slowly, whatever you had in your mind and slowly whatever you have to envision onto the screen, slowly the translation loss will be there. So I think it's better if you quickly, I think Sujit Sarkar told in one of the interviews that script is your biggest star. So if you have that in your hand, just jump in, yeah, just go to the sets. Yeah, so that's why. So I'm not saying with corporate producers it will take time and all, because it has to go through a lot of levels of approvals. So because of that, probably two people might not have the same opinion on one thing because it's a creative process. Okay, either for good or bad, two people may have different opinions. We need to convince both of them in their respective ways. That will definitely take time. Meanwhile, I have to convince myself answering their questions. So so this goes as a chain actually. So before convincing all these people, I lose interest in my script. So I don't think, you need not take such a tedious process to get your script approval, yeah.
Krista, I wanted to ask you about the world of shows for a second. You're making one for an unnamed platform, which we can all guess. But one thing I find very interesting is today the finest Hindi language storytelling craft, writing performances are all on shows, are all on platforms, are on streaming series more than film. And for me, from the outside, it's very sad that it's clear that the big platforms have put a lot of time, investment to really build a foundation of what that looks like, to sort of build those skills, to really tap into that talent, to make the Hindi series, streaming series, a very exciting prospect, the average one. But that same level of attention, focus, and time has not been put into the various industries in the South. Maybe it's starting now, but it wasn't there from the start. So why do you think that is? Because it really has led to so much more exciting talent for us as audiences. We've seen so many sort of writers really sort of stand out. So why do you think it is that the series format is not given as much attention there? You know, would you be making this, could you make this show that you're working on in a different language? Is it because it's in Hindi that it's a show? Why is that sort of unequal playing field?
So I think a few years back, major platforms were doing, Netflix and Amazon were, I think if I'm not wrong, developing a few shows in Malayalam. But after a point, I think they realized the viewership is less. When you're making a show in Malayalam, it gets restricted automatically. So they wanted to change the language of the show from Malayalam to Tamil or Telugu. I don't think nowadays anybody, at least Netflix or Amazon, is making any show in Malayalam. So I think the factor is, of course, the viewership number. And would I make this show in Malayalam? I don't think it's possible to, because it is a huge show and it requires a certain kind of budget, which I don't think that is possible to get it if you're making it in a regional language. But I think they are also afraid because, especially because of the viewership numbers, they are open to doing something in Tamil and Telugu, if I'm not wrong, but not in Malayalam.
But even Tamil and Telugu, it feels like that might be the case now. It wasn't the case a few years ago. So would it excite, the two of you to do a show? And why do you think that pipeline of, that level of storytelling is not coming out, or investment is not being put into shows from those industries?
I think with Kannada, there is almost like it's not even considered. Kannada is not even on the plate for any of the big platforms. They have categorically told us that they're not going to pick up Kannada films. And it's a problem within the industry because we're not producing good talent, good writing, good shows also. Good films also. I understand that. But I think if you look at it from a slightly zoomed out perspective, the biggest shows of Netflix and Amazons and all are basically non-English shows. Narcos was a Spanish show, Squid Games was a Korean show. So it is not language dependent as to why a show has to break out, right? It is more about who is willing to make that show. So when you come, the beauty of India and at the same time disadvantage for creators is that it's like Europe. It's a country within a country. There are so many different languages, there's so many different cultures. When you come to Bombay and you set up your office in Bombay, it's like Netflix goes to UK and does their head office in UK. The chances of them producing more English shows become higher than a German show or a Polish show, and so on and so forth. So they will eventually get, because each space is like entering a new kingdom, talking to the respective different kings there and understanding the mahol there. So that is an ongoing process, and I think they are trying to solve it in the best way they can. But I certainly hope in the next 1-2 years that Kannada gets at least a shout out for good films that are coming out, because there are no institutional production houses, very few, except for like the top 1 or 2. There are no institutional production houses that is regularly producing films. So from a corporate perspective, they're right to sort of ignore it, but at the same time, it is not right that a language that is produced, a KGF, a Kantara, is not getting picked up.
And even from an audience perspective, if a film like yours is being made, it's a real tragedy if we can't access it on a streaming platform.
I've tried multiple times to get my films, like the kind that I have made from other people to stream, to streaming services. And unfortunately, I get their perspective, but the thing that is heartbreaking for us is that the entire language of cinema, cinema from a particular language, is not getting the platform. It's just being looked, and it will change eventually, but hopefully it will happen sooner than later.
For sure. Prem, Vivek, is the idea of a show, is that something that excites you as a writer, as a creator?
See, the thing is, when OTT platforms who are approaching the filmmakers, so there are, because we are nobody wants to sit and write for a show, because they are interested in it more than releasing the film in theaters.
Okay.
So, so they want us to be showrunners and want to hire some of the people who's of our taste and who's like assisting us to look into, and they want us to supervise the product. So it is like that actually. So I think it's too much of a process where we are working on our own scripts, and we need to look after another script, and we need to supervise these things. So that's why I haven't seen any filmmaker from Telugu focusedly contributing to their shows with their own stories. I think if that happens, probably we get to see good products. I think hopefully we'll get there actually.
I believe Netflix is making a Telugu show this year.
Yeah, it's happening.
Hopefully that starts things.
Yeah, it's happening.
Prem, what about you? Would we see a Prem Kumar show at some point?
Yes, I've already started writing. And
I'm telling you right now, the feedback 6 months to 1 year. It'll definitely, that feedback loop is not going to come back fast.
and it takes little more time because it's based on real life incidents and characters. So I will take another year or maybe 6 months to finish it. And when I started pitching it, people were on for a shock because it is full of violence and bloodshed.
That's not a problem. They want that.
I mean, they didn't expect that from me.
Okay.
So I had to explain. They expected a very, romantic or an emotional thing. So yeah, so I've already started, and even I'm planning to do a original movie for a OTT platform. I mean, because it's more for that kind of an audience. I'm not trying to separate, but it's more for this thing. So I'm game for that. And the problem again is we don't have dedicated screenwriters for a series or for an OTT platform. We still have writers who write for commercial movies. And even there, the problem is we are getting writers who are novelists. They can't do justice. We need screenwriters. And people are not able to, even directors or producers I'm saying, they are not able to differentiate this. They are employing novelists to write a screenplay. And it's failing big time. So the screenwriters, they should come forward, or the directors should identify them. That transformation should happen. And even for shows, they have to come forward. We have few, even in Chennai we have a few, but they are not making it big. Even if they do, when the script goes and when it comes out, it is tampered so much, they lose interest. They go back to cinema. That's the problem.
But as Prem sir telling, when we are going there, we have every freedom to do our own way. Actually, probably we can explore whatever we haven't explored in normal theatre release. We can do that because we have every freedom to do that. It's probably, we are taking time to crack that space where we are more excited about more than the audience. Yeah.
No, but as a format, long form is the most beautiful thing for a writer because you actually get to dwell on the character. Each arc becomes important. So I definitely hope to make a long form show in Kannada somewhere down the line.
Fingers crossed. I'll just do a quick time check to see I'm not getting shouted at. Okay, we're good. I wanted to ask, both of you have said you're looking for writers. Maybe you'll get hounded after this. But I wanted to know, is there a lesson, Hemanth, you co-wrote Andhadhun, you found producers in RSVP. Is there a lesson in there about if we are moving to a single Indian film industry? If I am a screenwriter sitting in Bombay or Chennai, should I be considering reaching out to producers in other cities and other industries? How do I go about it? Do you think it's an exciting time to do that? Or will it be just very difficult to do?
I think it's a perfect timing to do that now because a lot of good writers are sitting, without, they're getting commissioned for work, but it's not converting. There are a lot of people in South who are looking for writers. So it will be great if that, sort of confluence happens.
I'm looking for writers actually. I would love to collaborate with. And
we'll share your number.
We are all looking for writers because we need bounce balls. As Prem sir told earlier, after some 5-6 movies, so we are short of ideas actually. We really don't know where we are going. So to keep the chain moving, actually we need to rely on the writers. Yeah, so that's the thing. So writers have a great space now, and that too after COVID, people are exposed to whole cinema or whole series or whatsoever it is. To get an original idea is very, very rare, and it's very, what to say, precious. It's a gold now. So, yeah.
Prem, what about you? If I want to pitch to you, how do I do it?
It's easy. You just have to contact me. That's it. And it's yes and a no, because if it is a basic storyline, yes, anyone from anywhere can just come and give it. You can regionalize it and you can do it. That's not a problem. But if you are making, if you are someone who's making rooted films, then you should get your writers from your own region. That's when I can't take Ullozhukku and I can't do it in Tamil Nadu. We don't even have that kind of a monsoon. It's completely different. It's a very rooted film. Whereas some scripts, it is universal. You can just easily regionalize it and you can do it. So it depends. It depends on the kind of content you have. But when it comes to Chennai, the Tamil film industry, they are actually open to writers. You can easily come, you can pitch your ideas, no problem at all.
I think the good thing with Malayalam is that because the films have been doing so well, a lot of studios from here are keen on doing Malayalam films. So they're reaching out to writers and directors from Kerala, and they want to come and do films there. Of course, one of the biggest reason is that the budgets would be less, and the success ratio according to them would be more because films are doing well in the theaters. A lot of writers that I'm working with from Kerala also, they are keen to kind of work in Hindi and explore the opportunities, and they're very aware of the kind of films that are being made here. So I think...
but is the appeal scale? Is that the appeal, that I can go bigger in terms of budgets, in terms of my story?
Yeah, I think that should be one of the appeals, because you will be getting better paid for sure as a writer if you're writing for a Hindi film. And there will be contracts, there will be tranches in which your payment is made and things like that. I think that would certainly be a plus for the writers from there. But at the same time, I think not everybody is keen on doing films here, because when you're working in Kerala, that would give you a lot of freedom. You're working with your friends, you're working with people you know for a long time. So you completely trust them. There is not even a need for contracts for them. And they also have a relationship where they're comfortable. Nobody is going to force something on you. It's a mutual, it's a place where there is mutual respect, and nobody would say that, okay, we need so and so things in the interval block. No, nobody is going to say, this thing we can't do in the climax and things like that, of course. But I think when a lot of people are also skeptical to come and work here is because you'll be working for a corporate mostly. And then, like we told, the feedbacks take a long time. They would have a lot of suggestions, which would
write a trilogy in that time.
Yeah. So those things I think writers from Kerala are not used to. They're used to writing a script, and if the director is happy, they want to go and make it. They are not used to a producer giving multiple rounds of feedback and then you waiting for months to hear back from them. So I know that a lot of big directors even drop projects because I don't want to do this. I can happily make my film, do a draft with the writer, and we get to a stage where I'm happy with the script, I go and make the film. I don't want to wait 6 months to get a feedback and then do another round, and like Prem was saying, the people keep changing at the other end. It's not an easy thing to deal with.
But I have to say, the rate of churn in Malayalam cinema is insane. From the point of the germ of an idea to a script getting written to shooting it and releasing that film, I don't know any other industry that does it that fast. It's insane. It's wonderful, but it's...
Yeah, I can also talk about it from outside only, because my film also was produced by a corporate. So I think it's partially true, because as soon as an actor gets excited by the idea, they want to immediately do it. Of course, if it is big superstars, their date has to be sorted. But otherwise, they want to immediately get onto the project and do the project before the excitement kind of wanes out.
So you're not waiting till 2027 till somebody's dates freeze up or some stars free or something?
Yeah, but at the same time, there are also people, I know my friends who are waiting for like 5-8 years, reworking on a script with stars. So that also keeps happening. But of course, the ratio is slightly better, I feel, in Malayalam, where the process is a little bit more faster because individual producers, they don't have to go through this corporate setup to greenlight something. If the actor likes it, they're immediately like, let's shoot at the fastest available date. So that process is much faster. It's less frustrating. The wait is less frustrating in that way. And if you have friendships and relationship within the industry, then I think it's one of the best places to be in.
I wanted to ask all of you, there's this other sort of big talking point within Hindi cinema, which is the idea that Hindi cinema has lost touch with sort of it's all about the multiplex audiences. That's where everything is. It's the urban audiences, whatever tag you want to give it. And the single screen audience, that's the one that's sort of lost interest in Hindi cinema. So for all of you, when you are trying to mount a film and really trying to grab the largest audience possible, is there a different part of your brain operating when you're thinking in terms of single screen or multiplex, or even trying to really make sure this film can reach out to the widest amount of people? Is there a different part of your brain that's working? Because that is a complaint that you don't hear from the industries in the South. Call it rootedness, call it whatever. There is a sense of connect that they have, whether it's a single screen or multiplex.
I think relevance, actually, how good your script is relevant to the major number of audience. So if you're terming it a single screen audience, I think what to say, very Western rom-com might not appeal to them, actually. So the emotions or the sensibilities in a rom-com might not appeal. I'm not saying that it will not appeal at all. Might not appeal to them. Whereas a mystic drama like Kantara might appeal to them because there is an intrigue in it. They were so intrigued that, okay, what's going to happen in this town? What is this God about? What is this God is about? So there is always this intrigue, and that rootedness and relevance is what that went amiss, is what I felt, actually. As Sir mentioned, Chamkila is one of the most rooted films that has come out in the recent times, but that is released on the Netflix. So if it had the theatrical release, probably people would have talked about it in a different way, actually. Yeah, it would have been a blockbuster.
I hope you're right.
Yeah.
I love that film, but I really hope you're right that it would have been a blockbuster. But yeah, what about you guys? Do you think separately when you're thinking of a different audience?
I don't think in...
No strategy, no...
No. I don't think and write. It just flows for me. It's just a natural flow of emotion. Once when you start thinking, you deviate. Of course, if you do those changes, I can understand what you're saying. It may, get you some results, but as a movie, it will not stay in the minds of the audience. It might be it will be short-lived for a week, maybe, that's all. So I would say don't do that. Rather, as a filmmaker, what I would say is try to, reach it to the audience like what the content is all about. Because, as I said, like when I went to Kerala, few of them, they were like teasing me. They said, we watched the full version, not your people. They said that. And in Andhra, it was a hit, actually, more than Tamil Nadu. It was a hit. And even the press people, they came to the stage. They didn't allow us to come to the stage. They came to the stage and they were appreciating us, which didn't happen in Tamil Nadu. So the point is you have to reach it. There, be it Andhra or Kerala, we had the people to, reach it to the audience. They were able to understand. Here it took some time. So rather, you should take that extra effort if you're taking, doing a different kind of a movie or an unusual kind of a script. You have to take that extra effort to reach it, cross the barrier of, the reviewers, and reach it to the people. So that effort now you have to...
Know who you're making the film for.
Huh?
Know who you're making the film for.
Yes. Yeah.
Hemanth, what about you? When you're making what you hope is the biggest film of 2025, what calculations are going through your head?
No, see, when I'm writing, like he said, I'm trying to channel that version of me that just wants to, pour it out. I'm not trying to sell the film when I'm writing it. I have to think about selling the film once the film is ready. I have to know that I'm making the film for, out of 10 people, only 8 people are going to watch my film because of a certain aesthetic, right? That is my awareness of the market. Now, my job as a producer slash writer director would be to then be honest to that 8 people first. Then after the film is ready, make sure that all 8 people watch the film. I think that is something that we fail at. Films are being made for a target audience, but it is not enough work is being gone into, from the corporates, from individual producers to ensure that that audience is showing up. That's not on the writer. That's not on the director. That's not on the, actors. It's the heavy lifting of the marketing department, the producer, to make sure that the film gets, the product, film, cinema, whatever you want to call it, gets distributed to the right audience. So that I cannot do when I'm holding the pen and figuring out, okay, what happens in this scene? If I add this, then that people will come. Then it will just become like,
Strategy, it'll just become
it won't be a film. It won't
a project you're assembling.
Yeah. It'll just have, a bit of everything. It'll be a cocktail that nobody can drink.
True. Actually, it's a very dangerous space to be in, actually, because while you're writing a scene, if you think of, okay, it will cater to this audience, let me add some spice to it, let me add some comedy to it because it might appeal to this kind of an audience, it will be no one's film, actually. At the end of the film, you will be wondering who's the writer of this draft, which I wrote right just now. Yeah.
Christo, what about you? As you're, I'm assuming, stepping into far bigger projects, budgets-wise, etc., is that a part of your brain that's going at all? That, am I trying to, on a writing level, reach out to a larger audience? Am I sort of changing the way I approach my writing?
Yeah, of course. I mean, with Ullozhukku, it's a project that I wanted to do it the way I wanted to do it. I hope that if I do it in the best possible way, people will come to the theaters and watch it. So I did not make any compromises, or I did not think that, if I add a song, more people would come and watch it and things like that. But going forward, like when I'm writing new films and I'm pitching it at different stages, I also pitch films at a story stage sometimes. I also pitch a film when before the script is written. So a lot of times you have to I kind of start thinking about the audiences for which market this film is going to work. And because I struggled a lot to kind of mount my first film, I am aware of how difficult mounting this film is going to be. And if the film takes 8 years to mount, I don't want to do it now. So I'm very well aware of the fact that how can I raise the finance for this film, how much, what numbers would this film appeal to, what strata of the society would it appeal to.
How do you work within the system?
Yeah, how do I work within the system? I do not want to, at this stage, make a film just for the multiplexes. I want to make a film that would kind of travel across the borders. People in villages would come and watch that film in the theater. So that is something that I'm very aware of. And even while writing, or even while, more than writing, I think when you're choosing a subject, that is when I think this question comes, becomes most relevant. Because is this something that can kind of travel, across people from different, spectra of life? Because a lot of times the subject would be interesting, but you would know that it would appeal only to a certain section of society. For example, when I was making a film, I went to a relative's house, and we were casually having a chat about films in general and going to theaters and watching films. And my auntie was saying, why would I go to theaters and watch a film where I have to cry? I have enough problems in my life. I want to go to theaters and enjoy it. I want to celebrate it. And that I can kind of understood when, for example, a film like Avesham released. People were just going to theaters to have fun, dance. And so I'm aware of that. And, while writing or while kind of deciding which idea to go for, that becomes a factor.
But I will have to call it there. It is time. But I want to thank all of you for your insight, for your perspective, for your time. All of your films have given us so much joy. Thank you so much. And we very much look forward to everything you do next, from shows to movies to remakes to the biggest film of the year. Thank you so much.